Hi guys, my name is Siddhant and I'm back with another video. This is one of my first videos for the LinkedIn family. Basically, the motive of making such videos would be to enlighten people with knowledge that I already have, with all the experience that I have in the industry. I could share that. Certain points that I want to put in front of people, I would be putting that and would try to cover different topics. There will be some bookish knowledge, there will be some knowledge which is going to come from my experience. Like it's going to be a mixture of it. Sometimes people will agree with me and sometimes you would disagree with me over things which I will be saying. So your disagreement shall be left in the comment section for me to read and improve myself. That's what I can say, because definitely a lot of my connections have great experience, and this would also be a learning experience for me. This will also enhance my knowledge from different people if I go around wrong with something. So today we are talking basically about B2C and B2B. What are the major differences and how both the sales cycle really work across. Okay, so for the starters, just getting into the introduction part of B2C and B2B. So basically, these are the two sales model largely followed across the globe. Okay, so B2C, as the name suggests, is business to customers. That means you're selling it directly to the customer itself. Okay, and B2C, as the name suggests, it is business to business. But there is another thing in this world today which is BBC. Okay, now what BBC is, basically we're not going to cover that in this video, but just giving you an overview. It's business to customer. That means you're outsourcing some kind of a product or service. Okay, now coming up back to the topic, B2C and B2B. Starting up with B2C, meaning business to customers. Now this is a sales vertical which has been very popular, and there are certain things which we need to keep in mind when we talk about B2C. Firstly, you're catering directly to the consumer. Okay, so they can be largely divided into two categories. The one could be product based, and second could be the service based thing. Okay, there could be two companies. One could sell the products directly. For example, you're consuming a pen. Okay, that is a product in its own way. Now, for example, you're consuming certain service. For example, you buy a package with Byju's. That is a software based solution to education, right? So that is exactly what B2C sales in two terms could be largely divided. Okay, now we need to understand there are certain things when we try to figure out the sales cycle of B2C model. There are certain things which have to be kept in mind. Number one, whom are we serving to, what our product is and what our pricing will be, and how do we place it. So basically the 4 P's of the business should be covered when we are trying to discover the B2C model of the business. The 4 P's goes like product. Firstly, you need to have a good product. Then you need to decide the pricing. Now, pricing will be determined on certain factors like demographic, location. Because what happens is, for example, a product costs $10 in USA. That would not cost exactly the same in India. There could be two factors which will be responsible for pricing. Number one will be taxation. Number two will be the profitability margins. For example, you come up in India. Now people don't really have that paying range to you. Paying capacity is less, right? So you need to reduce your profitability and as well as the product pricing. Okay, so that is how you place the product. Okay, then you find the right people whom to sell the product. For that you need to do lead generation. So being said that, it is very important in a B2C model that you have a good marketing which can connect to people. Whereas in B2B, you really don't need that kind of a marketing team, because in B2B, things could be done on based upon the products and the business connection that you possess. Okay. So after that huge lecture, let's get back to the main topic. How do we really have this particular sales cycle of B2C? Okay, the sales cycle goes, firstly, we generate the leads. How do we generate them? There could be two sources of leads. Number one could be inbound lead, or number two could be outbound leads. Now what are inbound? Now inbound, as the name suggests, they would be coming from certain campaigns and people would be showing interest into your product. So for example, I'm running a campaign called apartment campaign for a company called Byju's. Okay, now the leads, people who have already been interested into this or called up directly to me, those will be inbound leads. They're easy to sell because people have already seen your marketing, they're well aware of the product, the process becomes shorter. Okay, and another method could be outbound leads. Now this could be coming across as like I have outsourced the lead, I got the lead from somewhere, someplace. That could be the scenario with the outbound leads. You approach them basically. That is why it has been called outbound leads. Okay. Without going much into detail of this particular lead generation part, let's get into the second phase, which is how do you convert a sale. So basically you got the lead now. Now you're going to call them. The calling could be either warm, either cold, depending on your organization and the form of lead. Okay. So you call them. The first call conversation is basically about knowing the fact that is the lead really qualified in nature? Are they really capable of paying you? Are they really interested at your product? And giving them the brief of it. The first call conversation shall contain all the details. Sometimes what happens is after the first call, you might get a face-to-face meeting with your client, even in the B2C, and even a virtual meeting, or in some scenarios, it might just be a closure at the very first call. All the three scenarios are possible in B2C. Now, being said that, we have understood one more thing over here, that B2C ticket sizes are small, that the value you are selling right now will be comparatively small to B2B model. Okay, in B2C, the ticket sizes are going to remain comparatively small. For example, a company sells let's say 20 products of 1 lakh rupees, 20 different items of 1 lakh rupees each. That means the total revenue generated will be 20 lakh rupees. Whereas in B2B, only one sale value could be 30 lakh rupees. But being said that, B2C has higher volume of sale with lower ticket values, and B2B have higher ticket values with lower volume. Now, why do we have a lower volume? We're going to discuss that when we talk about B2B model. Okay, going further, we make a call. Okay, now you have convinced the client to see your product, then you perform a demonstration to him, maybe a demo or something like that. That could be physical or virtual, whatever suits the situation, and then finally the payment has been done and the deal has been closed. So what is the time duration of closing a single deal? It could be 1 day, few hours, and it could be maximum to a week. That is the maximum what product or service based companies target at closing a deal. Okay, now on spot selling is something which is very popular when it comes to B2C, because your client gets into the tricks of business, those sales tricks very easily, because he's a layman. He doesn't understand a lot of business tactics and other stuff. So yeah, he could be tricked into many things, and companies make a lot of business with this thing. So yeah, that is something which companies do, and it really works for them. So having a very strong business development associate or representative could really help into a B2C model. Now coming up to the B2B model. Now into B2B model, also we have two categories definitely. One would be product based companies, and the second would be service based companies. Okay, now we need to understand that a B2B model will be taking more time to sell a product. Now why it would be there? Firstly, you need to follow a hierarchy of chain. Okay, for instance, a company called AI. Okay, let's say a company called AI approached to a company, okay, let's say Marriott Hotels, with a camera-based solution that their camera provides security and hygiene. Okay, for example, a company approaches with that particular thing. Now they cannot directly get to the upper management of the company, who is the decision maker. Okay, they need to go through a business cycle, which needs to be followed more thoroughly into a B2B model, because there will be multiple decision makers at times, and there will be a hierarchy which needs to be followed, and there will be details which need to be portrayed in a right manner. Now let's go into detail. How do we follow that business cycle into B2B? Okay, firstly, the lead generation phase, which is one of the most important phase into a business, to business deals. How do we do that? We do that by 2 to 3 methods. The number 1 could be email marketing. The number 2 could be cold calling. The number 3 could be lead generation by different social media sources. Now, today LinkedIn is one of the most prominent source which has been used to do this, because it's one of the most reliable. But coming up back to the orthodox method, which is a cold calling, in which you get up to a company associate and you talk to them. You try to discover their problems. You try to figure out if they even need this. So what you do after your first step, which is cold calling or generating lead by any of the methods that I mentioned, you will get a response most likely, and then what you will do is, on that particular first conversation that you have, you're going to figure out, is the lead even qualified in nature? Now what is a qualified lead? We need to understand that over here. The qualified lead is basically a lead which is capable of paying firstly, is interested in your product, and would be available for the future meetings. So what does a business development representative in a B2B model does is, he just fixes this particular meetings. He converts a normal lead or a normal gain into a qualified stage by getting the following detail. For example, I made a call to the XYZ company called Marriott. Okay, I made them a call. I made a call to their, let's say, restaurant supervisor or restaurant manager. I asked them, do you need this hygiene product? Would it gonna work? No, it's not gonna work really. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to dig out into him. I'm going to find out, is hotel really finding any issues with the hygiene standard? Are they really relevantly looking for something like this? Is there been any problem? If there is some pain points, I'm going to hit on those. I'm going to use those simple sales tricks which we use for the sales. Okay, I'm going to use all those things. I'm going to go and dig upon the points, and then I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to take certain important details. For example, let's say, who is the decision maker? What are the hygiene standards they are following? Which are the bodies they done surveys with? What is their carbon emission levels? What is the waste of percentage, food wastage percentage? What is the budget allotted to for the hygiene and other stuff? Are they looking for some changes? What is the security parameters? I'm going to ask all these important questions related to my product. I'm going to prepare this. This is something which is a homework and will be done priorly only. And after digging all these details, I'm going to take up a time for the second meet. Let's say I have talked to him today on 8th. Okay, then I will be taking 12th as a date, and I will be considering this lead as a qualified lead. Now the second call, which is a follow-up call, shall be a longer call. The first call could be roughly approximately like it's 10 minutes. The second call would be with the upper management. Now the sales representative role is over. Now the upper management takes over from here. The call shall be around 15 minutes approximately. And during the call, the most important things which are going to be discussed are basically the product in detail, the services in detail, and the motive of the company trying to sell should be to understand the customer requirements. Okay, on the second call, managers and teams try to understand that. Now, the third call could be a meeting, basically a physical or a virtual meeting for the presentation purpose. Now, into the B2B model, we need to understand, unlike B2C, in which products are defined, pricings are defined. In B2B, products are not really defined. Outline is present but not defined in nature. The reason being is, for example, a company, Boat AI, went to Marriott, okay, for selling this particular product. Now there are changes which a Marriott might be requiring. They might need a waste management system into the AI system. Then what? Then this particular company, Bot AI, what they're going to do is they are going to implement the requirements into the product, and will be committing to implement the needed changes, and then they are going to prepare a presentation as per the requirements of Marriott. Now, once you have built that relation over the talks and other stuff, after let's say only 4 to 5 calls, after 2 to 3 meetings, you have built that relationship. Then you come to the point where you can discuss about pricing when both the parties are satisfied, and then finally we get up to something called pricing. Now, pricings are used in nature, so you need to understand that in B2B, no company is going to work like they're going to go to the website and they're like, okay, this is a very good product, we're going to purchase it, let's put in the credit card and purchase it. It's not going to work like that into a B2B model, because the purchase price is used. So they will need someone to clear up their doubts, to customize the product as per their needs, because a product cannot meet all the needs of the customer for sure sometimes. So yeah, this is going to be in place. Okay, so a lot of talks about that. What is going to happen next now? It's going to be a discussion of price, as I told you. After the discussion of price, there are going to be contracts, there are going to be legalities, there are going to be clauses which are going to be discussed. Let's say a deal would take approximately 2 to 3 months of time to close. That is the main reason that B2B have a longer target base. Like for example, they would have a target base like let's say quarterly targets, or let's say half yearly targets, because they also understand that deals require time to be closed, because value is definitely greater than the B2C. And in B2C, targets are more and burden is also more. Sometimes I could say that also for B2C. Anyways, this was a brief understanding about the models, two different models called B2B and B2C. What are the major differences? So, summing up the entire thing, B2B takes longer, has a higher ticket value, has more of a corporate process, need to be done in a very, productive way, need to be on point, products need to be, solving the problems to the core of it. And into B2C, you're selling directly to the consumer. The product should be consumer centric. It is a faster process but a lower ticket value. So that is what B2C is. Okay, guys, this was Siddhant. I hope I just made few things clear to you. In the very next video, we are going to talk about what is software sales or something called SaaS today. So it's been viral on the internet. People talk about it. We'll talk about all those things in the very next video. This was a video for you guys. Leave your comments down. Let me know where I was wrong, where I was right, and what you liked and what you disliked about the video. Thank you very much. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a comment for the better reach. Bye bye. Take care.